Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria around the world to News Cycle on Global TV. We're live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Edikan Michael. President Bola Tinubu have appealed for patience from Nigerians over the current economic hardship in the country, given the assurance that there was light at the end of the tunnel. The president said he was fully aware and took responsibility for the difficulties Nigerians had been subjected to on account of government policies. The president spoke in Akure, the Ondo state capital, during his visit to the leader of the Pan-Yoruba socio-political organization, Afenifere. President Bola Tinubu has arrived at the Ikeja axis of Lagos State to commission the Lagos Red Line Rail. Recall Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu had in December 2023 when he unveiled the Lagos Rail Mass Transit Red Line in Ikeja overpass, promised that the rail will be unveiled by President Tinubu before the end of first quarter of 2024. Added that the Red Line Rail, when operational, will convey about 500,000 passengers daily. Sanwo-Olu said that the LMR Red Line's railway system, the first phase of which we project will move more than 500,000 passengers daily, stretches over a distance of 27 kilometers from Agbado to Oyibo, with 8 stations at Igbado, Iju, Agege, Ikeja, Oshodi, Moshin, Yaba, and terminate at Oyibo. The Vice President Kashim Shettima has inaugurated a newly constituted board of the National Hygiene Commissions of Nigeria with a call on the new management to introduce innovations that will improve the operations in the country. Speaking during the inauguration at the Presidential Villa in Abuja, Shettima urged the members to synergize and bring fresh perspectives to the operation of the commission. The Vice President told the new members that serving at the board was very important, given that it's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. A nominee for membership of the Central Bank of Nigeria Board of Directors, Urum Kalu Eke, has declined the offer, stating that he was currently engaged in the World Bank. This came to the fore during the plenary when the Senate began the process for the confirmation of nominees. President Bola Tinubu had on February 13 forwarded names of Urum and 4 others for confirmation as members of the board for the CBN. But during the confirmation, former governor of Abia State, Senator Oji Okalu, APC Abia North, told the Senate that the person who is in the constituent had called him on the phone to reject the offer, noting that it will conflict with his present job as a consultant with the World Bank. The Senate said a nominee for the appointment as a member of the Board of Directors of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Nabia, has been rejected by the nomination by the President Bola Tinubu. Meanwhile, the Senate had confirmed the appointment of 4 other members of the Board of Directors of the CBN, forwarded to it by the President Bola Tinubu. The confirmation was equal to the consideration of a report of the screening of the nominee presented by the Chairman Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions by the Chairman Senator Adekuno Abiru, APC Lagos East. This confirmed by the Senate as directors as Robert Agbedo, Ado Yakubu Yawanka, Professor Murtala Sabo Sagri, and Muslimat Olenika Aliyu. National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, in conjunction with the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria, has sealed 1,370 wholesale medicine outlets in Kano over the failure to relocate to the coordinated wholesale center. The outlets are those operating in the open drug markets of Sabungari, Malam Katu, and Mai Karima in Kano. The Director General of NAFDAC, Majisola Adeya, made the disclosure while briefing newsmen in Abuja. She explained that CWCs were established to address the chaotic drug distribution system in Nigeria, adding that the disorderly chain of movement of medicines in the supply chain from the manufacturer to the final consumer is inimical to the efficiency of pharmaceutical products and is the primary cause of substandard and falsified medicine in circulation. And our workers at the National Assembly, under the aegis of Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria, have called for extension of their retirement to 65 years of age over 40 years of service. Retirement age in the Federal Civil Service is 60 years or 35 years in service, whichever comes first. In a statement by Chairman of the Association on Sunday, Sabiu, the group has called on the Senate to pass the workers' demand into law, adding that the extension of number of service years of retirement age was expedient as there was a dearth of qualified staff in the legislature resulting from the interruption of democracy by Nigeria's military. The Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa says the Nigerian military is deploying more non-kinetic methods in light of their effectiveness in combating terrorism and other security challenges in the country. The CDS stated these at the one-day seminar with the team Civil Military Relations, non-kinetic effort of the Nigerian military in security management, challenges and prospects, organized by Defense Correspondents Association of Nigeria. Kikelome Okere presents more details.
The traditional notion of war relying heavily on kinetic means is gradually being relegated, and the Nigerian military now seek to possess and apply non-kinetic approach to project power, secure interests, and solve problems. Speaking at the event, the Chief of Defense Staff says Nigeria, as a diverse and complex nation, faces a myriad of security threats that demand varying attention and concerted efforts to address insurgency and terrorism, intercommunal conflict, as well as transnational organized crimes and the mirror of other security challenges.
The armed forces of Nigeria, being the key driver in countering the myriad of security threats nationwide, has sustained non-military and soft strategies as a means to an end of these multifaceted threats. As Chief of Defense Staff, I'm highly aware of the multidimensional challenges that confront our nation in the domain of security. Nigeria, as a diverse and complex nation, faces a myriad of security threats that demand our unwavering attention and concerted efforts to address.
The Director General, Nigerian Army Resource Center, Major General Garba Wahab, and other stakeholders at the event says there is need to have journalists embedded by the military in its operation planning and execution, adding that embedding journalists in the planning and conduct of operation will help greatly in checking negative reports on the activities of security agencies. They therefore charge media practitioners to be patriotic in the performance of their duties and avoid reports that will be detrimental to national interest and security.
In Nigeria, it is the bad story that sells, and so we tend to look for sensational stories. And if you don't communicate, you cannot expect cooperation, you cannot expect collaboration. It's going to be difficult. And once those three things are absent, coordination becomes very, very difficult. And that's the major fact is the security situation in Nigeria.
Talk about security. When we talk about the situation of war, we all have a role to play. I believe that this gathering gives us an opportunity to x-ray what the military is doing.
I want to continue to appeal to you to please apply lots of restraint when you are handling your jobs. We are all Nigerians.
I'd like to sincerely thank you and commend you for the unwavering commitment of keeping the public informed, just like General Gusau has said, against all odds. Practicing journalism in Nigeria, especially covering the defense bit, has a lot of risks and safety consideration. But against all that, you have been there to ensure that the well-being of the Nigerian society and the world is informed.
Earlier in his remark, Decan President Ismail Musa says the theme of the event is aimed to reshape participants' minds towards effective service delivery, adding that the seminar is geared towards educating members of defense correspondents and the public about the ongoing soft approach adopted by the military in the quest to further secure the nation. The armed forces of Nigeria, being the key defense entry countering the myriad of security threats nationwide, have sustained non-military and soft strategies as a means to putting an end to the multifaceted threats. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
You're watching News Cycle coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja, when Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using our Global TV NG and other handles mentioned on your screen. When News Cycle returns, Israel shoots 50 dead as Gazans rush to air trucks. These and other stories coming right after this break. Do stay with us. This is Global Television, bringing you live broadcasts of News Cycle. Many thanks for staying with us. On the foreign scene, a Gaza emergency doctor has said that Israeli forces shot dead at least 50 people will rush towards trucks loaded with humanitarian aid for Gaza City residents. That humanitarian crisis is unfolding in the war-torn territory, with food shortages greatest in the north of Gaza. On the crowd in northern Gaza City, Amjad Aliwa, director of the emergency department of Al-Shifa Hospital, said in a statement that the number of victims rose at least 50 and more than 120 were injured, including women and children, as a result of the occupation's shooting. As the Palestinian Prime Minister announced the resignation of his government on Monday, paving the way for a shake-up in the Palestinian Authority, which the U.S. hopes will eventually take on a role in Gaza as all seeks for a peaceful resolution of Gaza conflict. The Palestinians' envoy to Nigeria, Abdullahi, has called on the Israelis and international community to support the process by accepting 181 resolutions. Global television correspondent Anthony Momodo reports.
As the Gaza conflict seems to be reaching its end, with Palestinians and Israelis reaching a ceasefire truce and exchange of hostages, the Palestinian ambassador to Nigeria, Abdul Al-Shawash, says all actors must recognize the international treaties binding all.
To release many of the Palestinian political prisoners and the Israeli hostages on the hand of Hamas. This can be achieved only if and only if we agree, all of us, all of the international community stand to uphold the international law.
He called on Israel to recognize Palestinian people's right to self-determination and existence as a panacea for peace in the region.
This can be adopted when and if and only if when Israel recognizes the right of the Palestinians to self-determination, which is a fundamental human right for each and every people all around the world.
As the Palestinian Authority and the U.S. all seeks for peaceful resolution of Gaza conflict, many obstacles remain, but it is hoped a peaceful region will be achieved. Anthony Momodu reporting for Global Television News.
The United States and Britain criticized the Hong Kong government over a proposed new national security law, saying it will curtail freedoms in the finance hub. Massive pre-democratic protests rocked Hong Kong in 2019, bringing hundreds of thousands of people to the street to call for greater freedoms. In response, Beijing has imposed a national security law to punish 4 major crimes: seditions, subversion, terrorism, and collusions with foreign forces, with sentences ranging up to life in prison. In a bid to create a safer environment for citizens, the Armed Forces of Nigeria says it's taking concrete steps in eliminating trade hindering the safety and security of citizens. The Defense Media Operations Major General Edward Buba made this known while keeping journalists abreast with the activities of the Nigerian troops in the theater of operations. Kikoloma Okere reports the troops conducted synchronized strikes between the ground and air forces and terrorists, killing a significant number of them.
The focus of the armed forces is to conduct its operations in support of national security interests. The Director of Defense Media Operation reels out that in the month of February, troops recorded significant successes in theater of operation across the 6 geopolitical zone of the country. It revealed that troops neutralized 974 terrorists, arrested 621 of them, and rescued 466 kidnapped hostages, adding that troops recovered 1,573 assorted weapons, 23,345 assorted ammunition, and denied oil theft of an estimated sum of over 8 billion naira.
The breakdown for the month of February includes and is not limited to the following: 640 AK-47 rifles were recovered, 248 locally fabricated guns were recovered, 93 pump-action guns were recovered, and 168 den guns were recovered by troops in the course of operations. 22 other jihadists were recovered.
It says troops of Operation Adinkai arrested suspected Boko Haram ISWAP terrorists and intercepted surrendered Boko Haram terrorist fighter in Bama, Mungunu, Ngala, Konduka, Guza, Kokoa local government area in Borno State.
Of Operation Wild Punch conducted air interdiction on another notorious terrorist enclave. The enclave belonged to Saleh Kawaji in Bindingwari local government area of Kaduna State. Battle damage assessment revealed that several terrorists were neutralized and their structures destroyed as a result of the airstrike.
It further reveals that on the 23rd of February 2024, a kidnapped kingpin, David Okpala, widely recognized as 2 Baba, notorious for terrorizing Rivers State and neighboring areas, succumbed to injuries sustained in an airstrike conducted by the air component of Operation Delta Safe in Ahoda Forest, Rivers State. The airstrike, which was part of a joint operation with the Nigerian police in Port Harcourt, was initiated based on credible intelligence indicating the presence of 2 Baba and his criminal gang hiding in the swamping forest.
We can all begin in making Nigeria great again by taking on the Celebrate Nigeria challenge. I therefore open the Celebrate Nigeria challenge, and I commence the challenge by saying, I am Nigerian. Of course, we use the Naira. Of course, we are tough, resilient, and industrious. Of course, the African Footballer of the Year is Nigeria. Of course, Burna Boy, Tiwa Savage, Wizkid, Ira Star, Davido, and Yemi Alade are all Nigerians. Over to you.
The military high command therefore called on terrorists to embrace peace or face the overwhelming military force. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
President Putin have warned of the real risks of nuclear war if the West escalates the conflict in Ukraine, offering a defiant and bold stance in his annual speech to Russians. Speaking in Moscow, Putin says his soldiers were advancing in Ukraine and warned the West of tragic consequences for any country that dared to send troops to Kiev. Well, the fresh warning comes with the Kremlin's bold by recent gains on the battlefield in Ukraine, but also an economy that has largely defied sanctions ahead of an election certain to extend to Putin's term in the Kremlin until 2030. Let's take a look at business. The federal government have announced that the $700 million Obiafo, Americans urban gas pipeline, popularly called OB3, will be completed in March 2024, a project that commenced in 2016. It announced this at the ongoing 7th Nigeria International Energy Summit in Abuja, where President Bola Tinubu has also provided some explanation on why his government had to remove petrol subsidy, despite how difficult it was. Providing a couple of status reports on Nigeria's gas sector during his remarks at the summit, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas Epe Egbo, described the OB3 gas pipeline as one of the biggest gas transmission systems in both Nigeria and Africa. The Nigeria Insurance Corporation says it has reimbursed the deposit of 179 registered microfinance in 4 primary mortgage banks across the country. The managing director of the NDIC, Bello Hassan, stated this at the NDIC Special Day during the ongoing 45th Kaduna International Trade Fair. Azana, who was represented by the NDIC's Deputy Director of Communication, Awuwa Gamble, insisted that the corporation's priority was the protection of Nigerian depositors' funds of licensed banks in distress. According to him, in carrying out its statutory functions, the corporation has introduced a single customer view framework to expedite payment to depositors of closed banks. The Minister of Steel Development, Shaibu Adu, has stated that reviving the Ajaokuta steel mill will cost something in the range of $2 billion to $5 billion. The minister stated this during his visit to the governor of Plateau State as part of a visit to the National Meteorological Development Center. According to the minister, the each sum required to revive the company was responsible for the government piecemeal approach towards getting the plant to work. The minister stated this during his visit to Jos was to evacuate the infrastructure at the National Meteorological Development Center, highlighting its crucial role in advancing the country's steel manufacturing initiative, and also visit the Jos rolling mill. The war against illegal oil bunkering and oil types received a rich boost as the troops of the 6th Division Nigerian Army Port Harcourt uncovered over 40 dug out crude oil wells in Rumo community in Awala local government area of Rivers State. Troops uncovered the site during the sweep and clear operations on the Trans-Niger Delta pipeline. The operation was led by General Officer Commanding 6th Division Major General Jamal Abdulsalam. Speaking to journalists after the operations, Abdulsalam said the oil wells, which were about 40 feet deep, were the latest technique employed by criminals in stealing crude oil from underground. The low electricity supply witnessed in the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, has worsened with the vandalism of Tower 70 along Gwagwalada-Katampe, Niger City of Power, has been witnessing frequent power cuts due to low supply to the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company. The situation has been blamed on the low generation of electricity by power generation companies, which in turn said every debt owed by the distribution companies was the reason they could not afford to get gas. The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, while announcing the vandalism, stated that the affected tower is now standing precariously on the ground. On a sport, Juventus player Paul Pogba has been banned from football for 4 years following a failed drug test, according to report by Italian media. Football journalist Fabrizio Romano also confirmed this on his X account. And Liverpool made a pre-tax tax loss of $9 million, so about $11.4 million last season, and an increased commercial income fell to offset a drop in media and match day revenues. The club's latest account review of overall revenue to the end of May 2023 remained static at $594 million after a disappointing campaign in which Jordan's club's men finished 5th in the Premier League and made early exit from the Champions League and both domestic cups. The wage bill for the current Premier League leaders rose about $7 million to $373 million, and administrative costs climbed by $17 million to $562 million. In the world of entertainment, the city of Boston, Manchester, US has declared March 2 as Burna Boy Day in recognition of the Nigerian artist's performances and advocacy works. This was disclosed in a letter signed by Legends, the Boston City Councilor. Burna Boy proudly embraces his Nigerian and African identity, infusing it as contemporary sounds to create music that resonate with the audience worldwide, therefore challenging stereotypes about African artistry and opening doors for aspiring artists from